Everything in life has a story, whether alive or inanimate. This chair behind me has a story. It was created in the factory by some dude. It got shipped to America, and I happened to purchase it some time ago, and now it's in my room where I can sit on. This notebook I purchased from, where is this notebook from? I purchased this notebook from Amazon. It got delivered to my house, and now it's being used. Everyone as well has a story in their life. Everybody can only tell their story from their point of view, because you cannot truly understand somebody and tell their story for somebody else unless you've walked in their shoes, unless you've lived the exact same life day to day to every second of their life. Unless you have done that, you cannot tell somebody else's story for them. I can't go ahead and tell, I don't know, bro, George Washington's story for him because I wasn't there where he was alive. I can only recollect the times of George Washington from the stories that other people have told about him. And even then, do I really know like what truly happened to him? His like full life story, I actually don't. Same way how unless I tell you my full story on YouTube, you will never truly understand me. And that's not me trying to be egotistical, thinking this is all about me. I think everybody is the main character of their lives. You are the main character of your own life because of the story that you're creating. Your parents are the main characters of their own lives too. People will try to put you down. I don't know what this trend is. People will say, no, you're being self centered. You're not the main character. The world does not revolve around you. That is kind of stupid because they're the main character of their own lives too. So imagine, of course, like if two people are main characters, you can't have two main characters in the same story, right? So it's only natural for other people to tell you you're not the main character, right? And so if everybody is the main character of their lives, if your life is a story, then what does that even mean? And I'm gonna break it down to you in this like I'm gonna break it down, bro. Like essentially what does it mean to create a story, right? Well, you have the characters. This obvious main character. You know what the main character is. This is basically who is the protagonist, who is the main actor of the movie, and that's going to be you. Who else is going to play the life of Rebecca other than Rebecca? Who is going to be the main character in the story of Aman other than Aman? Who's going to be the main character of the story of Drake other than Drake, bro? So if you are the main character, I'm sorry, if there is a story and if there is a main character in your life, there is no other main character but you. And we got that. That's like the easiest part. Everybody wants to say they're the main character and then chase this life of putting themselves first above all else. And that is kind of where everything starts falling apart because in order for there to be the main character, there also needs to be conflict. You cannot be at the top of the world if you've never been at the bottom of the ocean. You cannot have hot, sunny days without cold, rainy winters. You cannot have the color black without the color white. You need these balances because the world, everything was created in pairs. Man and woman were created together. The sun and the moon were created together. The stars, the galaxies, whatever, everything that has an opposite was created together in order for there to be balance. Because if there's only like positives, right? If you want to go, this is I see this all the time. People say go do some main character stuff, and their main idea of main character stuff is going hiking, climbing a mountain, going to Dubai and flexing the Lamborghini they've rented for a day, living in this like penthouse in the Burj Khalifa or whatever. But they forget about conflict. They forget about, well, what about the struggles you have to go through? What about those days where you had to eat nothing but bread for a week? You had to go live in the streets. You had to go and save money, save every single dollar you've earned because you can't even afford to buy anything but rent. You know, there needs to be conflict in your life in order for you to be the main character. Because think about all the movies you've watched. Think about all the books you've read, all the everything you've consumed that's a story, right? Do you really think you would have enjoyed it as much had there been no conflict? Had there been no plot, basically, bro? Like, if there's no. I'm gonna use Naruto as an example. If Naruto wasn't hated by the village, if Naruto wasn't. His parents weren't killed, if his best friend didn't leave the village, if his sensei wasn't killed, if he hadn't had to go through war, if his brother-in-law didn't get stabbed in front of him, bro, if all of these things had not happened to him, and he just all of a sudden he just became the leader of the village, do you know how boring that would be? Do you know how boring that story would be if there was no conflict and he just decided to do some main character stuff like everybody says, and he just goes from being this loser all the way to being the leader with no with nothing in between? That would be the most boring story ever. It would not. You would not be as emotionally invested in the story had there not been any conflict. So conflict is literally the most important part. Without conflict, there is no story, and if there is no story, there is no main character of your life. How can you tell the story of your life if there's no conflict? You have like the introduction scenes where you're at home, and then you have some rising action where you start panicking because you have a test due that you completely forgot about, and now you're running to your computer to go do an essay that's due, that's going to prepare you for the test. And because you're frantically trying to get this essay done before it hits midnight when it's due, otherwise you'll be considered late and you lose 50% and you'll end up failing your grades. The stakes are high, and so you're like constantly rushing trying to finish this essay. You finish it on time, you submit it before 12 o'clock. The next day you go to school, you pass your exam, and you pass the class. Do you see how like conflict is so responsible for that? Imagine there was no conflict. Imagine you got the essay done on time and you passed the class. That is so much more boring, bro. So you need to have conflict. The next place, that is kind of like the main part that I want to mention. We all know the other parts of the story. There's the setting. You're on planet Earth, of course. Me, I'm in like Dallas, Texas, so that's my setting. You could be in Atlanta. You could be in London. You could be in Australia, bro. Setting is literally Earth. So we have setting. Everyone knows what setting is. Everybody knows character is. And the next one is point of view. How can you be? There's two ways for you to tell the story. You can tell the story from your perspective, or you can let somebody else tell the story from you, from a third person perspective, right? And if you're going to be the main character, if you're going to tell the story from your point of view, well then you're going to need a plot. Plot. What's the plots, bro? Every single This is why like your life is kind of written out in chapters. You could kind of imagine each year of your life as a chapter. Chapter 1 is your year 1. Chapter 23 is year 23 of your life. Every single chapter of your life has a plot. Maybe for you it could be, this is the point where you are studying for your exam so you can pass college, or you can graduate high school, or you can become an entrepreneur and actually not success, financially find financial freedom and find success in the process. Every single chapter has a plot, and all the plots like are intertwined into one giant story, right? Each plot has conflicts that takes place in a setting with main characters told in point of view. Do you see like how all this works? Without all of these, you cannot have the main character, because if you don't have conflict, you don't have the setting, you don't have the point of view, you don't have plot, how can you have the main character? How can you be the main character? And so that's why like you really need to be able to romanticize your life for everything, not just like, oh, I'm gonna go do some main character stuff, I'm gonna go skydiving, I'm gonna go live my life and put my health first. I'm gonna put myself first, put my health first. You can't do that without any repercussions, without thinking, well, how can my life suck right now? You know what I mean? How can I suffer right now. And it's not like you want to purposefully suffer. You're going to suffer. That's the thing. You're going to live a life full of suffering. Suffering is inevitable. Whatever choice you choose in life, you're going to suffer. And some suffering, you can choose some sufferings over others, right? But the fact of the matter is that you need to romanticize it. You need to fall in love with pain. You need to fall in love with hardships because that builds character. That builds the that adds to character development, and with more character development you evolve as a person. You evolve, whether physically, whether mentally, spiritually, you are evolving. And if you are not evolving, you're doing something wrong, because at that point you are stagnant. And if you are stagnant, you if you are stagnant and you're not growing, then you're basically stuck in a place for no growth. And if you're not growing, you're dying. That's as simple as that. I'm trying to do this in one take, by the way. But you need character development, which can only come from conflicts. And that is essentially the point of being a main character. It's not just trying to live your best life and thinking everything's gonna be all fine and dandy. You need to experience hardships. You need to take it, because life isn't happening to you, life is happening for you in order for you to grow and evolve and actually tell your story for others to listen to, for others to hear. And that is how you actually be the main character of your life.